The lesions we see here are very discrete. You see the same kind. That is why I said there is every chance of getting confused, because those loops in post CTRT looks very much like your type 3, even your type 4 at times. But those are very diffuse. And you don't have those margins where you see the longer vessels coming up to the margin. So that is one way of like differentiating those from definite lesion. Then again, when you're seeing an ulcer, definitely you have to get your antennae up. Ulcer coming back, you have to think of a recurrence first and foremost. And again, if necrosis is there, that again is a challenge, because you will not see any of this. Moreover, if secretions are there, that is another challenge in post CTRT cases. Your secretions, everything will look cyan in that case. So you need to have, unfortunately, my endoscope does not have that suctioning apparatus, but if I have to tell you that it's better to go with a suctioning apparatus. So that will take away those secretions and give you a better feel. Also, you'll be able to give a 4% xylocaine better if you have a biopsy channel or a suction channel, and you can go closer to the lesion. 0.5 centimeter is what is recommended.
Thank you, Srisha. Let's see any other questions. Any other questions?
Can I ask you a question, Srisha? Just
yes, sir.
Not a question actually. I just observed that the classification is exactly mirroring the classification of ELS classification of cordectomy. So I don't know whether there is a it corresponds to the
yeah, it is sir. It is sir.
Yeah, so basically probably if you have a type 2 lesion, it might be something which correlates with the type 2 cordectomy or something like that.
Yes, especially when you're doing a transoral laser surgeries.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Money. Yeah, Subbu. Yeah, you're back.
No, I'm back. No, continue. We will go on with the next talk, and then. Yeah.
Thank you, Srisha. Because
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Srisha, can you stop sharing the slide?
Sure.
Yes, Sajid, please go on.
Good evening, seniors, colleagues, and friends. Happy to see you all here. Am I audible?
You're audible, but your slides are not seen.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Here we heard an experienced person, Dr. Bipin, talking about flaps, and next followed by a sweet, beautiful voice from Srisha, who has nicely presented. And she has got, I agree that she has got a good presenting skill. And now I think to hear me, I think I should use some techniques to impress upon you. And is my video seen?
Every now and then.
Can you see my video?
Yes, Sajid. Yes.
Surgery that's come with the introduction of robotics.
So here we are talking about technologies, and another technology that has come in the way is poblation, and that is used in oropharyngeal surgery. It's like robot being used. This technology uses something called a plasma technology, wherein the tissue interface produces a plasma. And here, this has been used initially in arthroscopy surgeries and later introduced in ENT. And the cutting tool is basically called the wand. And what you see here is a wand. And this, while being applied to the surface, produces a layer which produces a plasma, and that cuts it. It removes a volume of tissue without causing the problems of portion. There are various wands which are available, and with its own advantages, its own cutting tools. The best advantage of this tool is that it reduces, it does not produce too much of heat energy. It's mainly a chemical reaction that happens, and that is with that it cuts the tissue. It has been used many times for a long time now in ENT surgeries, especially tonsils, adenoidectomies, etc. I've not heard of it being used in orthopedic surgery, but it is said that it is being used. And when I discussed with some of the colleagues in orthopedics, they said that it uses. Now, this is what our usual conventional monopolar cautery does. It produces lots of heat energy. It's about 400 degrees Celsius. And as we all know, it produces a thermal damage. Now, this has been used for cutting. Once we cut with cautery, it produces some charring also. Whereas with the coblation technology, the charring is going to be less because the thermal damage is low. It dissolves the tissues molecule by molecule, and there is a precise removal of tissue. Because of the low temperature, the lateral damage is very low. So this is a very good tool which can be used for any of the resections. Why the name coblation? It is called controlled ablation, and it does not create much of a problem. There are various molecular activities that are going on, and usually we need saline interface usually for cutting. So this is a chart which is comparing the coblation versus the cautery, wherein we can see that the temperature difference is too much. The machinery goes like this, wherein there is a generator and the vans which are available. I just did a surgery for a patient, 64-year-old, who came with a recurrent swelling in the oropharynx. He had multiple surgeries in the past, and this is the current swelling. You can see that there is a very big tumor in the base of tongue. Luckily, this tumor was not invading too much into the tongue tissue, but it was a very large tumor. And if you go with an open surgery, we would do a big surgery, and reaching to that area was difficult. And here you can see the whole of this is what you see here is the tumor when the tongue is pushed to the side. It was very difficult. And then finally we thought we will use this, because until then I was very hesitant in using this technology. But in this phase, I was forced to. This patient had trismus, and because of his previous surgeries, I had a scar which was already there, and I had to cut that to open. So a lip split was done. It was very difficult to go into the oropharynx even, because it was fully filled with tumor. So slow and steady, we could cut the tumor. So what I did was initially debulk the tumor, because it was a polypoid tumor. I couldn't even catch it with any forceps, and that was the first part of the tumor. It had two parts, if you could notice, and then that was the second part. And that was the residual tissue, which was the base of the tumor, and that was removed with margin. And you can see clearly here how this cutting goes. There is very minimal bleeding. It cuts very easily, and there is a saline which is going on, and it washes away the chars and other things. So it's a very good cutting tool, wherein we can use it for the oropharynx, especially for the base of tongue tumor. Because of the trismus, I had to do a lip split, which was already there for this patient, and we could achieve removal of this tumor. It was about 8 into 8 centimeter tumor from the oropharynx. Luckily, because the infiltration was not too much, we could achieve an easy removal. But the beauty of that was, even the postoperative period was uneventful. Patient had no pain, and we could resort to oral feeding within 1 week to 10 days. There was no slough that we usually see, so that was an advantage. So when I looked into literature, there are reports which says that radiofrequency coblation can be used for head and neck malignancies. This was a review from Suren Krishnan group, who had compared it with laser surgery and found that the timing is much more timing is very less in coblation surgery. There are other reports as well, somebody have used it for early glottic cancers, and also this all came from obstructive sleep apnea surgery and or of other oropharyngeal surgeries like tonsillectomies. there are no much of reports in malignancies other than these few reports. So, but I find that each ray of light is going to be helpful, and such gadgets can be used for various situations like the one which I had. I don't have too much of experience in using coagulation. I was very hesitant in using, but once this presentation came and the topic given to me was on a recent advances or recent topic, I thought this would be something which can be shared. And anybody who has an experience in using coagulation can come up with more ideas. I think it is not going to replace robot, but I think it's another tool which can be used. Thank you.
Thank you. Moni, am I audible now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, Subbu, you are audible. Yes.
Yeah. Can I comment on this first and then open for discussions, because there will be some discussions on this particular thing. Now, Sajid, you are
Yes.
telling. See, I had also personally used coagulation for couple of tongue cases, and the amazing type of healing coagulation gives is unparalleled. It's quite okay. I mean, it just heals off without much pain and all those things. My only worry of using it in a routine practice is it burns away tissue, and then to have a control of your margin per se. I'm very comfortable when I burn off that area because it just burns off. But for the purpose of margins and all those things, it becomes difficult. I don't know. I will invite comments from other people on this. Second point of view is, one is that it's slightly, see, we have coagulation from the ENT side, they use it very commonly, but to use it is for a small case, it is slightly on the expensive mode in a way, because each wand now they insist that it cannot be used for more than, I think it is 10 or so, and wand price has gone up. So this is my observation, but I think we can discuss on this. But it's an excellent tool, underutilized tool in head and neck cancer, I would say.
Right, sir. Now, coming to the pricing, if we have to use a robot for some of the cases like this, I'm sure the price will be much higher. So maybe it's useful.
Sajid, can I stop? See, I'm not talking about comparing with the robot, and I'm just comparing with a simple cutting tool.
Yes, sir.
Laser versus this thing versus cold knife versus. But if you start using in a tongue cancer, you just do a partial glossectomy or this thing. You keep doing it, you will find that the healing and the final sort of result for that patient is much better. But it is a big broad band, and then you are not sure about the getting a pathological report on the margin with that. That is the issue.
Yes. Second point was saying was regarding margin. Now the band causes it removes lots of tissue, and we may have to do additional. We may have to take a larger margin to say get a pathological margin. But I was lucky that it was such a huge tumor. Another 2 centimeters of tongue was not a major problem because it turned out to be a sarcoma, and my margin should have been much higher. But when we deal with a small tongue-based tumor, can we use this? Yes, I think ISR's point is should be considered, because for small tumor, when we use such a tool, our margins of resection, which goes away with the resection, will be a considerable question mark. So I think it has got a very limited role at present. Maybe a finer wand and finer tip tools might help us, but something to ponder.
Sajid, one question can I ask?
Yes.
Now, how is the bleeding control?
Excellent, sir.
Does it seal vessels and you have an advantage like that?
Yes, sir. Here in this patient,
over harmonics, over You have harmonic scalpel, you have got the ligashore, and how do you rate it when you compare these three together?
So I don't know, because I've not used harmonic or ligashore directly on the tumor, cutting the tumor to take it as a piecemeal for debulking and then going to the base. But in soft tissues, otherwise harmonic and ligashore works well. But here, even though I have cut through the tumor, it was a very limited bleeding. And cutting through the base of tongue also, I was lucky that there was no major bleed. But then seeing that result, I thought probably the patient will require some cause of problem, may land up in some problems in the post-op. Even that went well without any issue. Some
No.
cases where we did laser for the tongue cases also has got problems, because there's a slough which covers, and that takes long time to heal. But here the healing was, as Ayers has said, healing was very, very
Yeah, I was asking a little bit objectively also, the company recommendations, the sealing, vessel sealing levels, you will be able to know probably.
This they don't recommend any, because it is not a vessel sealing device, because so hence they are not mentioning anything regarding the vessel sealing.
No, that
But
will make a possibility of reactionary hemorrhage and secondary hemorrhage more if it doesn't seal.
Yes.
But the ablation mode causes the vessel, the ablation mode, because it has got two modes. One is the ablation mode and the cutting
mode. Yeah.
So this ablation mode helps in sealing the vessels. But I am not sure about the size of the vessel which can be sealed. But on a soft tissue, it works.
Right. Seema.
Yeah, but see, Bipin, I think regarding your question, it cannot be compared to either harmonic or ligashore. I have used it, like Subbu said, for tongue. For small lesions with there, I don't remember the two modes, the cutting mode and the coagulation mode, some other terminology Sajid used. Yeah, it could be used. And then I think regarding the margins, you have two kinds of wands. You have one with a pencil tip and one with a slightly broad end. So probably the pencil tip one can be used initially for the margin, and then with the broad one you could do it. But the healing is amazing, because the patient pain is extremely low. I think you would be really fascinated to use it.
Yes.
But I don't know if a bigger lesion, how useful it is going to be.
This patient, I was surprised, because this patient demanded, because he was okay. He was within 7 days, I remember. I think Anulis is there in the group. She can tell us.
But why didn't you go? No, Sajid, why didn't you go on a regular? Why didn't you use a regular kind of surgery? Why did you go for a co-ablation for such a big tumor?
So if I have to use a bipolar, I don't know how much of control I will have to, and how much of time it would take for me to cut it in pieces. And here, I think the resection got over in 20 minutes or less, the whole thing.
Okay.
Because it was so quick that I was also very much excited, because it went very easy.
Yeah.
Srikumar, can I just add here? See, the question Bipin asked about the harmonic. In this base tongue, we had recently, last week, the harmonic works very well in a way, because it's a very sharp type of jaw it has. So you have a control, you can go, you can go around the tumor, all those things. Whereas the coblation wand is not that malleable, flexible that way, in a way.
No.
But each has got its. I think I would be very happy if I have everything there in front of me. I use this, that.
Yeah. I think that would be the best.
That's right.
We would use a focus 9 for head and neck lesion, for head and neck surgery for harmonic. That more. I don't. That we should have everything. Then you have the liberty of using whatever you want. But then it doesn't serve the purpose.
The wand is flexible at the tip. We can use a little bit of, we can curve it a little bit to.
I think is it our hand which is doing it rather than the wand?
It is touted as a Harry Potter's wand by the company, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we go to list is done with, and then we go to Bipin stock itself. Yeah. Now since Subbu is also
Yeah.
audible. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I?
Let
Can
us
I come to that comments which I missed at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come to the comments which I missed at that time. See, whatever we do, I think we should not forget the functional rehabilitation as well as the donor side morbidity. Now, donor side morbidity is a thing which we all just brush aside many times. Radial forearm morbidity is not good in the long term. If you look at it, it might not be very good. The fam flap morbidity, if it is large flap taken and you put a buccal pad of fat and then or close it tightly, it doesn't look good. It doesn't fare well functionally. And if your donor site has hair, we cannot wish it away. Please mark my words. You cannot wish it away. We have had several tubes of pectoralis major for a laryngeal reconstruction with obstruction because of the hair. You are happy if you are using a hairy flap if the patient has to undergo radiation. But in recurrent salvage setting, you are using a hairy flap and radiation does not follow it. Please be careful about it because that can be a nuisance and it's not the correct thing to do. There you have to choose your flap based on the hair bearing area and all those things. So to summarize what I am telling you, see, we have to it's not versus like big flap versus sophisticated flap versus all those things. Basically, you have to tailor that flap suitable to the patient. Old patient, I would always go for a regional flap because morbidity of re-exploration, second anesthesia, the patient won't stand it if you are doing a free flap. So I would put it down that you have to tailor your flap not as per your convenience, but as per the patient's need as well as what is the right thing for the patient.
And regarding Bipin, like a volume of the tongue, you said that a near total glossectomy and you kept an island nasolabel. How much was the volume of the nasolabel which you kept?
Actually speaking, when you have a total glossectomy, you cannot reconstruct it with a single nasolabial flap. Maybe you have to take two flaps to reconstruct it. That is what our commissarians and all used to do in the past. But what I am now saying is with this island concept, and when you have a moderate size defect, it's not about a total glossectomy defect.
Yeah.
I think you showed one picture, no?
Yeah, but then that is a little deceptive because that was already a transposition flap, and you have a lot of underlying muscles still intact there. The only thing is that the flap width has resurfaced the tongue. That is what has happened. So defect is still a moderate defect or a high-end moderate, probably you can say. That's all.
One thing, local flap should surely has a place in head and neck. But when it comes to bone defect, I think we have nothing with other than free flap. That is one, and I think half of the surgeries in head and neck will involve bone and then removal of the bone, if not half, maybe around 30%.
Yeah.
So that is where the fibula and other bone flaps will fare. Nothing to alternate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Agrees.
so I had been doing both in lots of local flaps as well as free flap, but both has its own place. There is no question. We cannot shy away. I think best is to have everything with us. We can even make a plan change in the on table. So I think we should be able to know. So we cannot.
There have been situations, in spite of it being RCC, there has been situations where I have done intraoperative decisions. Very rarely, very difficult in our setting, but still I have done that.
Right.
Plan to do a flap after you start with a conventional. And also I have a situation where I have salvaged a conventional flap failure with a free flap. So these are all possible. These combinations are possible.
So can
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Moni, would you be wanting to say something to conclude the meeting?
No, not at all, sir. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, the next Subbu, come on. Some of you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I've done my share. Thank you very much. It was a good sort of all the three people presented so well and then were emphatic about what they were talking, and we all learned a lot. Thank you very much.
In fact, can I say a few words? In fact, I think it is very, very heartening to see that our meeting went very well. And we have been in a big slumber during the COVID. And now the COVID has announced that it is not going to go back for a while. So I think we have to continue. Actually, we are actually going to plan this actual physical meeting this month or next month. Then now things are changed. And we have to go ahead with this thing. And today actually it was a very dashing
Now this is physical.
by the three people and as well as moderator. We would super moderators and we'll continue with that. So every 2 months we'll be having various topics, and I think one more thing we added that with the concern, the like-minded societies, if we can start practicing, start doing some other combined meetings as well. So I am sharing my slides. Can you see my slides? This is the next meeting we are planning in May, where the two experts from Canada will be speaking about how to interpret evidences from RCTs, and they are the masters.
That's great.
Yeah, so they are ready to present on 25th May, and Dr. Chris Booth is a medical oncologist, as well as Dr. Shaila Merchant is a surgical oncologist, and both will be sharing. It will be very eye-opening session for us, and I bet that Chris Booth is one of the finest speakers across the globe, and we are happy to have them here, and we will continue with such kind of things. Thank you very much for.
I think Chandramohan, we should publicize this across to other societies also.
Sure.
Because this is so good topics. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Over to you, sir. Mr. Kumar, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend physically at home, but then always the weekend is a weekend. Yeah. Okay. Good night, all of you. Thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Hope to see you for the next meeting in bigger numbers. Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.